Thank you, Professor Gaur. It is really an honor and I'm very happy to be here and to share some of my thoughts about India-Central Asia relations. This is a very strategic relations which have been gradually evolving and consolidated over a period of time since the disintegration of the Soviet Union and the Eastern European bloc in 1990-91, after the collapse of this entire socialistic structure of one of the paradigms of Cold War. Now, these 5 countries which are there in Central Asia are basically they were the components of Soviet Union, or the erstwhile Soviet Union, and today after the dismantling of the Soviet Union, they became independent states, Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS states. These are 5 members of the CIS states, as well as they are all the 5 constitute Central Asian republics. And these are the republics of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Now, this region is not very well, you can say, propagated in international news or geopolitical and geo-economic news channels that much. Only in the weather channel, you will find a little bit of the weather forecasting of Central Asia with a few cities in that area. And then that's it, not much. But this area is very strategic, and it lies in the intersection of South Asia, East Asia, Middle East, and West Asia. So this is a very strategic region, and it is having a lot of resources also, but they do not have too much of population. And as a result of that, they are also in a growing stage of development, economic development, particularly after the dismantling of the Soviet Union, which was anyway practicing socialism. And now these are independent states, democratic states, as well as they are looking for greater access to globalization and global markets. So they are also looking for having strategic tie-ups with various regions, and South Asia is one of the major areas, with India at the center of South Asia, one of the largest markets, and also a democratic country, the largest democracy, multi-party democracy, with its classic institutional fabric. So historically, these republics were part of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, USSR. They became independent in 1991 after the collapse of Soviet Union, and the region constitutes a vast area rich in energy resources, and also now I would like to minimize this. Yes, energy resources, mineral resources, and cultural and civilizational ties with India, because India traditionally had a lot of cultural and civilizational ties with this part of the world, because many of the invaders over the last 1,000 years have been coming from Central Asian region. But then after coming here for various expeditions, military expeditions, they got absorbed in India, and the cultural, you can say, the enmeshment has happened. So over the years, this has happened, and that way there are cultural and civilizational ties with India. Now, this area has been in the focus of India's foreign policy for quite a bit of time, for almost 30 years after the breakaway from the Soviet Union, because earlier India was having strategic relations with Soviet Union, the erstwhile Soviet Union, and now India is also having strategic relations and partnership with Russian Federation. So over the last 25 years, there have been visits by prime ministers and the presidents of our country, and apart from other leaders and officials, to Central Asian republics, and frequent visits by the heads of government and leaders from the region to New Delhi, including by Narasimha Rao, 1991, 93, 94, I think he visited the Central Asian countries, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and Manmohan Singh. And the region falls in the western frontier of India's extended neighborhood and is strategically significant because after the start of the Narendra Modi tenure in 2014, there have been a lot of strategic changes in the foreign policy dimensions, like the neighborhood policy, neighborhood first, then extended neighborhood, East Asia policy, East Asia, then you can say Act East Asia. So, and then participation in Quad in a much more systematic and concerted manner, and in also various types of other global forum. So extended neighborhood has been a primary hallmark of India's strategic foreign policy at this moment. And in the eastern side, there is the Indo-Pacific policy of India, which is a strategic policy towards extended neighborhood in the eastern front, whereas on the western front and a little bit on the northwestern front, India Central Asia corridor becomes a seminal hallmark of our extended neighborhood policy. Now, one of the very strategic turning points of India Central Asia relations over the last 25 years, but really got boosted up in the last 8 years, have been the July 2015 prime ministerial visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to all these 5 countries, Central Asian countries. That is a back-to-back in one single visit. The Indian Prime Minister covered all the 5 countries and towards boosting this relationship to a strategically higher level and strategic heights. The visit is regarded as a turning point event in reinvigorating the socio-politico-economic fabric between the two sides, while deepening and expanding strategic engagement in a gamut of areas of mutual concern, particularly that of security, terrorism, economic, cultural, and energy issues. These are the various important pillars of the growing relations between India and Central Asia. There are other relations also, other areas also. For example, 2015, medical diplomacy was not was a part of the discussion, but after COVID-19, in the wake of this pandemic, medical diplomacy with this region, medical cooperation or healthcare cooperation with this region has really propelled a lot. The visit also propelled the frontiers of joint progress, prosperity, and people-to-people contact into an altogether higher trajectory, having strong historical, social, and cultural connections. Because there is tremendous amount of goodwill for the people of India by the people of Central Asian countries. And the Central Asian countries, people want to visit India for tourism and also for various kinds of soft skill, technical expertise, as well as they want to have an education tie-up with various institutions with India. So these are some of the hallmark of socio-cultural as well as people-to-people contact, which always stimulates the geopolitical dimensions of the relationship, deepening of the geopolitical dimensions. And very recently in April 2022, from 1st of April to 4th of April, Indian President Ramnath Kovind paid a state visit to Turkmenistan, one of the 5 Central Asian countries. And this visit is also significant as it is the first ever visit by an Indian president to Turkmenistan. So that way, see, India is also trying to extend its willingness and show its willingness and strong determination to consolidate the ties with these 5 countries, and particularly those countries where there has not been any visit at the highest level, either at the prime ministerial level or at the presidential level. And the presidents of the two countries during this visit stressed the importance of expanding mutually beneficial trade and economic cooperation between Turkmenistan and India, and increasing the volume of bilateral trade, because there is enough tremendous potential, and the two sides have not been able to really reap the benefits of that potential to its extent. As a result of that, there is a wide space that remains untapped, and there is immense possibility to really embolden this relationship. They noted the role of India-Turkmenistan Intergovernmental Joint Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific and Technical Cooperation. So you see here, everything is coming, majority of the areas of mutual concern, trade, economic, scientific and technical cooperation as a coordinating body for enhancing cooperation in this regard. And the two sides expressed interests in increasing cooperation in various sectors and identified energy, petrochemicals, transport, communications, information and technology, textile, leather and footwear, chemicals, fertilizers, pharmaceuticals, renewable energy, construction, agriculture and agro-processing, gems and jewelry, etc., as potential areas for greater cooperation between the two countries. And you can see that in all these areas, India has a strategic advantage and expertise, except the energy sector, where this region is extremely rich in energy resources, whether it's natural gas or other types of resources, coal, iron ore, and other resources which are major sources of energy. Now, from the technology point of view, we are advanced, but from the resource point of view, these countries are quite advanced. Now, or having rich endowment. The leaders stressed the importance of joint efforts to another major pillar of this growing relationship is the security and defense cooperation, particularly in the backdrop of Afghanistan imbroglio that happened in August with the withdrawal of United States troops, and also constant, Afghanistan has been one of the centers of mutual concern for terrorism and counter-terrorism, drug trafficking issues, illegal migration and all those. So this has been one traditional area of concern, but with the departure of the United States troops or the NATO troops, US-led NATO troops, this region has become strategically important, this country of mutual concern, because it falls in the backyard of the two sides, India as well as the Central Asian countries. So this has become the security and defense cooperation, along with probably this is the most strategic area of cooperation at this moment, followed by trade and connectivity and energy cooperation, as well as medical cooperation or healthcare cooperation. So that the two leaders stressed the importance of joint efforts to counter modern challenges and threats, including international terrorism, cross-border terrorism, extremism, radicalization, illegal migration, trafficking in narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, and transnational organized crime. So this is also to be taken into account, that this visit was an important visit at the highest level, the heads of state level. Now, if you see the geopolitical map, then you will find that here it is India. Then Kazakhstan is a very big Central Asian country. Uzbekistan is here. Kyrgyzstan is here. Tajikistan is here, and Turkmenistan is here. In between, there is Afghanistan, which is very much at the proximity of India and all these Central Asian countries. And of course, Pakistan is also here. On this side, there is the China, particularly this is the administered by China, the Akshay Chin area, but claimed by India. So this is a disputed territory. And of course, this is also the, you can say the POK area is also a disputed territory totally. And so this region is very much at the cross section of these two areas, having Pakistan in between and then Afghanistan here also. So very strategic, this corridor, India Central Asia corridor. This side also is Iran. That is another country which is also having a lot of importance as far as the strategic security and defense mechanism is concerned in this region, the broader region. Coming back to the mutual strategic interests, we have the two regions have the resource potential to complement and accelerate each other's growth, because see, India has got tremendous amount of technical software, IT technical, as well as human resources potential, as well as cultural and socio military defense. On all those issues we are at an advantageous position. Even we are the source of a big market, one of the largest markets for the Central Asian countries. So we are definitely at an advantageous situation. But what we are also requiring is something related to the energy resources, because we are energy deficient, and energy is something which is paramount importance for economic development. So Central Asian republics have natural, mineral and energy resources to meet India's energy requirement and inter-regional connectivity also. Because remember, we are not only stressing into the landlocked policy of connectivity, but also now moving into a maritime policy in the eastern neighborhood, extended neighborhood, that is the Indo-Pacific. But on the western extended neighborhood, yes, definitely the traditional landlocked railroad connectivity, as well as the road connectivity, highway connectivity, is these two areas are of strategic importance. And India Central Asia corridor does not have that kind of connectivity, except a few areas here and there. So India offers a billion-plus market, as well as different tools of economic and social development, such as low-cost advanced technologies, skill and entrepreneurship development, cheaper communications, efficient telemedicine. Yes, obviously we are very advanced as far as the the medical areas are concerned, healthcare, hospital facilities, medical equipments, tele-education. But tele has become important because of the pandemic. Tele-education and pharmaceuticals to accelerate the growth and development. Pharmaceuticals is also another area where we have got strategic advantage, and the Central Asian countries can definitely benefit from India's expertise to accelerate the growth and development of these republics, medical services and equipments, which are also facing the threat of violence and extremism in the region, from inside as well as from outside. Because remember, the cultural diaspora of these countries is like a mixed breed. So there are people from all types of cultural diversity, and since this country falls in a very strategic intersection between South Asia, East Asia, Middle East and West Asia, there is always a vulnerability. And with Afghanistan in the backdrop, I will come to Ukraine war later on. It's slightly away from this region, so I'm not bringing that right away, but we will, towards the end, I will bring that also. But Afghanistan is very important at this moment, because this is a volatile, that aggravates the volatility of this particular region from the terrorism as well as the security point of view standpoint. Now, India and Central Asian republics have embarked into a new and era of robust. Now, this is a very important thing. India Central Asia Summit has taken place in January 2022, and this is the first ever Central Summit at the highest level. This was hosted by Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi recently on 27th of January 2022, but in a virtual format. Earlier, the plan was that on 26th of January 2022, all the 5 Central Asian leaders, heads of state and government, were invited as the chief guest of honor during the Republic Day ceremony. But because of the Omicron, which came up during that time, this visit was cancelled. The physical visit of these leaders, as it is, and earlier the program was once they become the guest of honor, then on 27th or 26th, after the ceremonial parade and all those on the Republic Day ceremony, 27th there will be the summit. But that did not happen in physical format, so virtual format the summit happened, and this was the first ever summit. So you can see that there is a you can say heightened amount of collaboration and convergence, and the urgency to really accelerate this growing partnership between India and the Central Asian countries have been happening over the last few years in a strategic manner, with a lot of high level exchanges and visits, including the foreign ministers' visits of all the 5 countries in one go in December, which led to the third India Central Asia strategic dialogue that happened on 19th of December 2021, and followed by that on 27th of January 2022, the first ever summit level discussion and meeting happened. Now the summit coincided with the 30th celebration of the 30th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Central Asian countries, and also the 75th anniversary of India's independence. So a very strategic time when this first ever summit happened. And the summit is considered as landmark event that resonates strong resolve of the leaders of the two sides in taking up the strategic relations to newer heights in a comprehensive and enduring manner, long-standing, comprehensive and enduring manner. And the summit has accounted for far-reaching ramifications in determining the stability, security and geostrategic equilibrium in New Delhi's western frontier, because traditionally this region has been a source of concern for New Delhi's security concern, basically. So with Pakistan and then Afghanistan, and then in the extended neighborhood, these 5 countries are coming, which are independent countries, but having a multi-dimensional cultural and various other, you can say, characteristic features. This region has been constantly a focus for New Delhi over the last 30 years, but over the last 8 years or so, things have really changed, and there has been a reciprocal gesture from these countries to really accelerate relationships with India, being the largest democracy in the world, and also reflecting one of the biggest markets for them, and practicing reformed multilateralism and transparency and global governance because of the democratic structure and institutional fabric. So the affinity is there, strong affinity, and as a result of that, there is a lot of convergence happening. And significance of the summit is that the Prime Minister Modi outlined the principle of support of all, development for all, trust of all, efforts of all for regional development, peace and shared prosperity as well for the people of the two countries. And the momentum in India Central Asia strategic convergence has further got traction during the January 22 summit, when the leaders discussed the entire gamut of critical proposals of mutual interest. Earlier there used to be, some segmented discussion, but this was the first range of our cooperation between the two sides, between the two, you can say, two regions have been explored, and identified new priorities, and also boosting the traditional areas or existing areas, and accelerating this relationship, and then changing the dimensions of this relationship to a much more comprehensive and enduring manner. So some of the hallmarks are defense and security, trade and connectivity, development cooperation, medical and healthcare cooperation, energy security, cultural and people-to-people contacts, apart from unanimously reiterating their strong support for a peaceful, secure and stable Afghanistan with a truly representative and inclusive government for preservation of security and stability in the whole region. So some of the cornerstone pillars of these strategic relationships, which is constantly evolving, is the heightened cooperation between India and Central Asia for regional security, shared economic prosperity, trade and connectivity, energy partnership, medical diplomacy. Climate action is another area, because these countries have really appreciated India's role in COP26 as Paris Agreement, as well as India-France-led International Solar Association. And people-to-people contact is another area of strategic relations. Providing effective structure to India-Central Asia cooperation and creating a viable roadmap towards adopting an integrated approach for regional connectivity and cooperation for the next 30 years, and to further accelerate the momentum of this entire partnership. Some of the strategic visions, some pillars are the recent summit, and which evolved from the recent summit, because the recent summit has been the most important you can say event in emboldening all the relationships which have happened over the last 25-30 years, because this is the first summit, and as a result of that, the whole dimension of this relationship has been you can say not only analyzed but also taken up to a very different platform and level of deepening cooperation based on mutual trust and understanding, and also solving mutual interests. That is the thing. Now, visualized an ambitious roadmap for the coming years and focused on concrete action plans towards further emboldening strategic partnership between the two sides. And the proposal to establish, you see, some of the major areas are the India Central Asia Center. This is an institutional development which is happening in, and this center will be established in New Delhi as a function as a secretariat. This is very important because secretariat will be basically responsible for further strengthening the institutional collaboration and organizing new events. The heightened activism was also reflected by a proposal to create an India Central Asia Parliamentary Forum to enable robust deliberations between the legislatures of these two countries, because the collaboration between the legislatures will bring people to the forefront, because legislative members will be elected representatives, and that way people to people contact will increase. Concurrently, the two sides agreed to organize a number of activities, including issuance of joint postal stamps to celebrate the 30th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Central Asian countries. The postal stamp is a very symbolic gesture towards building a relationship. And if it is from the issuance of the joint postal stamp, then it is of much more strategic significance. All such decisions are momentous and categorically symbolize the extensiveness of socio-politico-economic synergy that the two sides are currently having. Now, let us get into the defense and security cooperation and some of the hallmarks of this cooperation, as well as trade and connectivity, energy and medical diplomacy, and then multifarious areas. That is the way this presentation goes. There is a lot to speak, but I want to really curtail my discussion to a limited time frame, and then I will expect questions from the audience. Security, counter-terrorism measures, and defense cooperation are hallmarks of India Central Asia growing convergence. Over the last few years, the two sides have called for urgency in upgrading the defense partnership, while agreeing to consider holding joint counter-terrorism exercises to achieve a one world free of terror objective. Now, in recent months, the leaders of two sides made detailed assessment of the emerging security. This is a very important area in the backdrop of the developments in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan, after the withdrawal of the troops, of US troops, has become an open, you can say, open land for all types of possibilities of disequilibrium, and you can say as an area where terrorism and all types of other security concerns can grow. As a result of that, the two sides have really deliberated as to what should be the future shape of Afghanistan to maintain stability, security for not only the two regions, but also for Afghanistan itself in its process of democratic reforms. So while deliberating on impact on security and stability in the region arising out of current situation in Afghanistan that actually falls in the backyard of all 6 countries and quite centrally located in the proximity, the leaders during the summit reiterated strong support for a peaceful, secure and stable Afghanistan while uh, emphasizing the respect of sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity and non-interference in its internal affairs. So that will be good for the region as a whole. And the idea clearly emanating from the summit emphasizes Afghanistan to be a common concern for all the 6 countries like India and 5 Central Asian countries, and required the urgency towards consolidation of security cooperation to ensure stability in the region. And they also wanted the leaders also arrived at broad regional consensus on establishing representative and inclusive government, combating terrorism and drug trafficking, providing humanitarian assistance for the people of Afghanistan, and preserving the rights of women, children, and other national ethnic groups and minorities. Because remember, Afghanistan has got strong affiliation with India as well as Central Asian countries. So as a result of that, this country, which is a pretty big country and very strategically located, is important for each side in the India Central Asia corridor. And India and Central Asian countries have shown unanimous support and reaffirmation of the strategic significance of United Nations Security Council Resolution 2593, which was passed in 2021, which unequivocally demands that Afghan territory not to be used for sheltering, training, planning, or financing terrorist acts, and called for concerted action against all terrorist groups, and also reiterated strong commitment to work constructively in global counterterrorism cooperation, while expressing urgency towards fully implementing relevant UNSC resolutions and embolden global counterterrorism strategy and FATF standards. So this was a very comprehensive statement which came out from this summit, which really, you can say, resonates the concerns of these countries, 6 countries, India and the 5 Central Asian countries, and they fall in the same page as far as how Afghanistan should be really transforming in future towards the direction. And the decision to establish a joint working group to monitor the developments in Afghanistan is a concrete step forward to enhance such diplomatic efforts. Now, that is in the immediate, the preceding over the last few months, as far as Afghanistan is concerned, even though it was there in the mind of the India Central Asian relations all the time, that even when the US troops were there, Afghanistan has been an area of concern for all in this region. I mean, India and these 5 countries. India has been providing training from a traditional point of view, which are an existing and ongoing practices beyond Afghanistan, that it has been providing training to the Central Asian security personnel, to its defense and its security institutions, and regional countries express their desire to enhance this cooperation in the field, because India is a major military and defense power in this region, in the proximity of Central Asia, and as a result of that, they want to take the full benefit of India. Military training for the armed forces from the region is primarily provided through the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation ITEC program, and officers from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan regularly attend courses at the National Defense College, Indian Military Academy, and National Defense Academy. Remember, Turkmenistan is having a policy of permanent neutrality. So they do not want to get into this, even if they want to have a very strong relationship with India, and they have repeatedly expressed that willingness, and towards building that kind of a scenario, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, visited Turkmenistan also in one go, along with other 4 countries. And very recently, President Kovind also went uh, as a special visit to Turkmenistan, April 1st to April 4th, to further embolden this strategic relationship between India and Turkmenistan, despite permanent neutrality status of Turkmenistan. Now, Tajikistan is an important player in India's security paradigm with the region. The India-Tajikistan Field Hospital, about 100 kilometers south of capital Dushanbe and close to the Afghanistan borders, has been built by India and is operational since late 2014. So that is also very, very important. And these are some of the glimpses, some of the examples of the ongoing defense and security cooperation. And this particular hospital has been funded entirely by the Ministry of External Affairs of India, and medical experts from India are working at the hospital, providing facilities in the fields of medicine, surgery, anesthesiology, gynecology, and dental surgery, etc., to the patients. Basically, they are security forces. Another hallmark of India's Central Asian growing relation is the development of mutual connectivity and trade and commerce between India and Central Asian countries in the context of the landlocked geographical terrain and insufficient overland connectivity facilities between the two sides. And they are also another area of strategic relations. Connectivity projects are visualized as force multiplier for trade and economic cooperation, and contacts between countries and people to people and people between the two sides have emphasized on upgrading this kind of connectivity for trade and economic cooperation to the forefront. Now, the two sides recently agreed to utilize the services of the Shahid Behesti terminal at the Chabahar port, because remember, Chabahar port is a strategic port. Fully, it was a investment from India, FDI from India to Iran, which was responsible for the construction of the Chabahar port. And now the Shahid Behesti terminal has been devoted to facilitate India Central Asian connectivity, trade connectivity, and that has been a major development towards establishing long-term trade connectivity on the sea routes as well. Now, via Iran and the Persian Gulf, a joint working for this has also been established to streamline this connectivity process. Apart from that, India was very much at the forefront of transport corridor, and this particular venture initiative started in 2000. In the year 2000, during the prime ministership of Atal Bhattacharya, Asian countries. Now, trade endeavors are also very important as far as India and Central Asia is concerned. And when we are speaking about trade endeavors, then some of the areas are connectivity and dimensions are, let me just again minimize this. The Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India gas pipeline project. And this is of tremendous importance. But very recently, because of the Afghanistan crisis or instability, as well as deteriorating relationship between India and Pakistan, Pakistan is stopping the access of TAPI. And as a result of that, this project is at this moment halted. Otherwise, earlier when this project was envisaged, all the 4 countries were a party and they agreed to really go with this project for the trade of gas between regions. Other economic engagement, particularly between India and the Central Asian countries, because remember, India and Central Asia is landlocked corridor, and in between Pakistan and Afghanistan also falls. So as a result of that, no land connectivity can happen without bringing Afghanistan and Pakistan also in as stakeholders. So that was one of the things which was that happened earlier, but now it has gone slightly, delayed because of the geopolitical crisis or problem. As a result of that, Chabahar port has been, you can say, explored with the Shahid Beheshti terminal, so that India and Central Asia can get connected with the help of sea route, Persian Gulf and Arabian Sea, that kind of a route, so that there have been a gradual trade and uninterrupted trade. So the resources required by the two sides are available in the region as far as the trade and connectivity is concerned, and the republics of the region are willing to become active partners. Areas where India has developed expertise and can really help Central Asian countries, which the Central Asian countries themselves have recognized, are information and technology and ITES, information technology enabled sector, services sector, pharmaceuticals, research and development, services sector. We are very advanced on our forte. See, again, it is coming international north-south transport corridor, which started in 2000 and envisages connecting South Asia to Eastern Europe and through Iran and Central Asia. And one of the you can say drawbacks of establishing long-term land connectivity has been the deficiency of road infrastructure. So the 218-kilometer long Zaranj-Dilaram road in Afghanistan is another effort from India to increase connectivity with Afghanistan as well as Central Asia. Because remember, Afghanistan is always having a friendly relationship with India. Generally, Afghanistan is having a very good relations with India, because India has preferential trade agreements with Afghanistan, and India has really invested a lot in the developmental process of Afghanistan, which the people of Afghanistan as well as the political system of Afghanistan understands. Basically the leadership. Now with the withdrawal of the troops, of US troops, and Taliban taking over the power, then also there is a very good goodwill for India. So Afghanistan is not much of a problem as far as enhancing connectivity with Central Asia is concerned. But the problem lies that with Afghanistan, Pakistan also comes. So as a result of that, this has to be done in a very diplomatic manner, and that way India's effort is to really associate with Afghanistan more, and then see how this trade connectivity can be enhanced. It was constructed by the Indian Borders Road Organization, this particular road, at the cost of $150 million US. Another major area is the energy cooperation, and this is very strategic for India also, because we are energy deficient and we are in need of energy, and the Central Asian republics are rich in energy resources and are looking for potential markets for their energy resources, and we are looking for energy security, and we are providing a potentially very big market for the Central Asian countries. Central Asian countries are also having energy markets. They are looking for diversified markets now. So say South Asia is one of the areas where they are very much interested in of this growing relationship, because they have energy resources and they want to trade on energy with big markets, particularly democratic markets having strong institutional foundations. And India is one of those markets which they're one of the ideal locations which they want to have. So it's a win-win strategy for each side. So India, with its impressive growth rate, is seen by the Central Asian countries as a potential partner and investor for stronger economic development, particularly on the energy front for them. India-Central Asian Central Asia relations reiterate long-standing commitments towards capacity building and connectivity enhancement between the two sides to enhance energy security. And New Delhi understands and appreciates the significant endowment of energy-related natural resources in Central Asian partners, especially in the context of large reserves of coal, natural gas, mineral resources, and crude oil in Central Asian countries to meet extensively deliberated on heightened collaboration towards enhancement of trade relations on energy resources, line of projects in Central Asia, and that is a major development in recent years. So enhanced cooperation, energy cooperation between specialized national institutions in areas of renewable energy, clean technology, and step towards energy cooperation between the two sides. And the Central Asian leaders India's initiative of infrastructure and strong affinity to India, France-led international solar associations to harness solar energy, which is one of the, you can say, renewable energy resources. And some of the countries where a lot of resources are available and they can be very useful for growing partnership between India and Central Asian countries are these countries. Say Uzbekistan has uranium deposits, resources, along with sufficient current requirements of the whole region. That is the whole Central Asian region. And the country's general potential reserves are 527 billion kilowatt per year, 3 times higher than the current electricity consumption of whole Central Asia. So it's a huge hydropower potential is there in Tajikistan. Kyrgyzstan is also rich in hydropower potential as well as gold deposits. And Turkmenistan has the fourth largest of COVID-19. Medical diplomacy has really, becoming another major pillar of our strategic relationships. And India-Central Asian relations emphasize on the importance of extensive vaccination, vaccine supply, transfer of technology, development of local production capacities, promotion of supply chains for the medical products, and ensuring price transparency. Because one of the wars between the developing countries and the developed countries during this pandemic is the technology transfer matter and vaccine accessibility as well as development between the developed and the developing countries. So Central Asia and India are on the same page as far as these areas are concerned to have a unanimous and unequivocal response to combat this pandemic, which is mutually beneficial. Now, the Central Asian leaders' appreciation for the approach One Earth, One Health presented by Prime Minister Modi symbolized the strength and commitment of the evolving relations in health paradigm between the two sides. And during this summit, the leaders called for establishing a transparent mechanism to facilitate effective and non-discriminatory international access to critical health supplies in future. And the sides expressed mutual gratitude to each other for timely assistance during the pandemic pandemic. The first wave, India assisted Central Asian countries, but second wave, there was a lot of assistance which came from the Central Asian region, because second wave in India was last year, April, May, very devastating. So there was a mutual reciprocal relationship as far as medical cooperation was concerned, or healthcare cooperation was concerned. And non-discriminatory international response to global health challenges, including pandemics, for ensuring an equitable and affordable access to medicines and critical health supplies. Other areas of cooperation, of course, Peter and the Central Asian leaders appreciated India's and Delhi's role in capacity building and human resource development of their countries, particularly and education. The summit, the first summit, emphatic call for propelling trade in sectors like medicine, healthcare, pharmaceutical, technology, also climate change are some of the very seminal areas of strategic importance. And I think we have discussed these two earlier, and all such decisions are momentous and categorically symbolize the extensiveness of this growing relationship. And then the significant stride towards vaccine dose sharing, technology transfer, local production capacity enhancement. Capacity building is very important. Of expertise and supply chain for medical products coupled with price transparency are going to be impactful. So they are dependent on Indian expertise on those areas. And again, these are some of the traditional areas where the two countries really benefit, have mutual strategic interest, as well as shared economic progress can definitely happen. Then support of all, development for all, trust of all, and efforts of all. This is the India's principle, and the two sides reiterated strong support to India's principle of support for all, of all, development for all, trust of all, efforts of all, for regional development, peace and prosperity. And the leaders agreed in the summit that global development should be human-centric to ensure that no one is left behind. And the leaders welcomed the signing of MOUs for implementation of high-impact community development projects for socio-economic development in Central Asian countries based on grant assistance by India. And that also encourages greater people-to-people collaboration and contact. And the two sides emphasized on harnessing the tourism potential between the two countries, and underlined the need for increasing tourist arrivals, including for pilgrimage, as well as historical and cultural tourism, creating tourism trails across the region, encouraging investment in tourism infrastructure, and organizing regular tourism conferences and seminars. So these are some of the strategic areas, other multifaceted. But in this lecture, I am not able to cover the big dimension also totally, but I have tried to take up the major areas. Because in a small time period, I cannot cover all the areas, but these are some of the strategic areas which the two countries are definitely emphasizing. And in the conclusion, I can say that the consolidation and convergence of India-Central Asia relations are distinctly perceptible. As I told you, the third dialogue, which happened at the foreign ministers level, dialogue which happened on 19th of December was, and that was a in-person, offline. You know, all the 5 foreign ministers came to India, and they did not, the overlapping meeting of foreign ministers of Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Remember, they are all members of OIC, so Organization of Islamic Cooperation. That bears testimony to the importance that Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan accord to relations with India. Because Pakistan hosted the OIC conference, And these 5 countries sidetracked that and came to India to take part in the third in India Central Asia dialogue. And remember, the first ever summit also has taken place very recently, 27th of January. And India basically considered all the 5 Central Asian leaders to be chief guests for attending India's Republic Day ceremony. So that was another huge honor which India was providing to all these 5 leaders to visit India in person and then attend India's Republic Day ceremony as chief guests and then attend the summit. But because of Omicron, they were not able to come, but the summit did take place in a virtual format. So these are very much important developments at the highest level and also at the ministerial level to really embolden this relationship and take this relationship to strategic heights. And the deep commitment to taking the evolving partnership to newer heights is potentially transformational for ensuring geostrategic equilibrium for the region and the world as India takes over the presidency of G20 grouping in 2023. So India is all set to take over the presidency of G20 grouping in 2023, and these countries are have openly expressed their total willingness and support to to really be with India in all the initiatives as the president of G20. Now, coming back to the Afghanistan crisis, I will definitely not the Afghanistan crisis, the growing crisis in Ukraine, the Ukraine war. See, this is a major development which has happened over the last 51 days, and the whole world is getting somehow impacted by this war because of the strategic geopolitical shifts which have been occurring at various levels, region to region, and also country by country. Now, at this moment, neither India nor Central Asian countries have really got associated with this war in any direct manner. India have been practicing independent relations, strategic relations with Russia as well as in the United States. So India has been going by that particular strategy that we will be having good relations with Russia as well as United States, but we are advocating peace and stability in the region and non-violence, basically. All types of, you can say violence as well as you can say the loss of lives or military exercises, India is not supporting. So that is one of the standpoint of India, and Central Asian countries are also not getting associated with this war. So there is some kind of unanimity between India and Central Asia, as I understand, in remaining unassociated with the war in a direct manner. But the two sides are also quite aware of the strategic relations with Russia as far as these two countries are sides are concerned, and from the India standpoint to take a balanced approach as far as our growing relations with United States is concerned. So this is a tightrope dancing definitely for India particularly, and Central Asian countries because of their very close proximity and traditional political tie-ups as part of Soviet Union earlier. So it will be important to really continue to see the evolving strategy of the two sides with regard to Ukraine war. Otherwise, as I understand, Ukraine war has not really impacted India-Central Asian relations at a bilateral level. Yes, the two sides have to really take a respective stance for the Ukraine war. I mean, with regard to the Ukraine war, in such a manner that which is according to their foreign policy, you can say, prerogatives, and India is taking that kind of an independent strategy, which is a kind of a non-aligned strategy. The traditional non-aligned movement, India was also a member of a NAM during the Cold War time. So we want to have good relations with Russia as well as United States, and we will be definitely looking for our own interest. But we are also advocating peace, stability, and security in the region, an immediate halt of any military and destructive activities. But we are definitely going for independent relations with Russia and United States, and do not want to combine these two relations with the Ukraine war. We will be going for our in favor of our interest, which will be whatever will be helpful for our interests, people of our countries, of India's interest, as well as far as this type relations is concerned, India Central Asian relations, mutual relations, and the shared economic progress. We will be definitely looking into that at the bilateral level. So Ukraine war is there. India is monitoring how Ukraine war is progressing. Central Asian region is also monitoring about that, but there has not been any major impact of Ukraine war on this growing relationship between India and Central Asian relations. This is something which I assess from the situation over the last 50 years. So I stop here today, and now I look forward for some questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. You have covered very extensively, very comprehensively all the aspects of India Central Asia relations, and particularly you have referred to the current developments in world affairs, that is Ukraine war, and how it may or it may not impact India Central Asia relations. So now I will ask the students if they have any questions.
Can I answer my my presentation and go for full screen? Can I answer?
Yeah. I mean,
how I can answer this?
Just a minute.
Let me just.
Sir, you can just click on stop sharing. That's it.
Okay, stop share. Oh, fine. Right. Huh.
So now you are there.
Yes.
So now you are there, and now I leave it to the students. If they have any questions, they can ask you. Yes, come on. Yes, any questions? There should be some queries, I think, after such an extensive coverage. Of course, he has left no aspect of the relationship, and he has spoken about all the aspects of India Central Asia relations. Dr. Bhattacharya, before the students come with the question, I have a little query about this India Central Asia relations that have been observed for a very long time. It is often said, I mean, it's not my personal view, but it is, I have come to know about this. Some people have expressed the opinion that India's role in Central Asia is restricted by the involvement of major powers. I mean, the Central Asia has become a hotbed of rivalry between Russia and US and all that. So that way, India's role in Central Asia has been a little restricted. I mean, India is not able to play its full role in the development of Central Asian countries and all that. And how far do you agree with this? I mean, the role of major powers, have they impacted India's relations with Central Asia?
See, this relationship has been over the last 30 years. So we have to also see how the relationships have been growing in the context of they are becoming independent from Soviet Union, which was the erstwhile Soviet Union, but still Russian Federation has a lot of, you can say, uh, impact in their geopolitical as well as geo-economic development and growth. Now, that is one thing because of the proximity and the historical antecedent. United States is also interested in really, you can say, expanding its reach to this heavily resourceful and resource endowed area, for sure. But Russia is also there in the close proximity. United States want to come from a very different geographical location across the another geography. India is growing and having a very strategic partnership with United States, which was not the case earlier during the Cold War time, but now it is a very evolving strategic partnership. And India's traditional partnership with Russia is always there. So as I see that the growing relationship between India and Central Asian countries can be a benefit for the Central Asian countries, because the goodwill of United States on India is there. Russia is already a traditional partner and long-standing partner. 87% of our defense cooperation, defense development establishments are, Russian collaboration, even if United States want to expand in that particular area. So very recently, India has also, very openly said that we will be importing Russian oil despite the sanctions from United States. So we have made our position very clear that we will go by our interest, and we are having strategically important relations with United States as well as Russia, but that has nothing to do with I mean, even if there are sanctions from United States on Russia, India is going to have an independent relationship with Russia. Now, United States have not declared any measure, punitive action against India. Despite that, with the 2+2, the dialogue which has happened very recently, United States has have expressed concern, but has not has not declared anything punitive action. And in fact, United States agrees that yes, India has its own interest, and it has a very strategic relationship with Russia long before United States was able to really forge that relationship with India. Particularly, they were speaking about the Cold War time. So they understand the significance of India as a big market for them also, and they also understand the, so the hallmark of the traditional long-term relationship with Russia that India is having. So in that context, if we get into that kind of a connection, that US also wants to have good relations with India, Russia wants to have good relations with India, India also wants to have good relations with each of these two countries independently, then that way it can be a win-win strategy for Central Asian region also, because Central Asian region will be definitely benefiting with having greater relationship with India because of the goodwill that India is already having from United States and Russia. So I see in that kind of a context that yes, great power or the big powers, they might fight amongst each other, between each other, to grab control over this particular area. But when these 5 countries are going to have a strategic relationship with India, at that time probably these 2 big powers will not be interfering with this growing India Central Asian region strategic relationship. That is my understanding.
You are correct to a great extent. Now I will ask the students to please, if they have any queries. And Dr. Bhattacharya has to go to attend some event, so be quick about it, about your questions. Come on. Yes. Amity, Shreya, any questions? There must be some questions agitating your minds, and you are free to put them to the guest, or before I see
I
this.
cannot think. I cannot think of any question right now. Can I mail him if I get one?
Yeah. You can
So
send the
accept.
question to us. You send the question to, we will forward the question to him, and he can answer them at ease when he is free from his academic, endeavors and all that. I think that will be more convenient and all that. I only talked to him that students would like to uh, put their question in the chat box, or they will send it by email. So, Dr. Bhattacharya, thank you very much. And actually, you have taken a lot of pains to explain, the very vital significance of India's intelligence relations. There was a time when India did not pay, you can say, proper attention or sufficient attention to its relations with India. But there are geopolitical regions, there are other dynamic, relationship to demands that the two sides have come to together. Of course, the role of big powers is definitely going to impact this relationship, particularly China and all that. Because BRI is there and it's going near Central Asia and all that. So those challenges are going to be there in future, but at the moment we feel that relations are very smooth and they will grow from time to time. So thank you very much, and we hope to have your benefit of your views on not only in Central Asia but also on other aspects of India's foreign policy. So thank you very much, Dr. Bhattacharya, once again, and I thank you very much on behalf of PRC and Foreign Policy School. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.